I hope you don't crucify me for saying this, but I don't like Escape from Tarkov. The game is way too stressful and tense and draining, and after 2 rounds I feel like I need to take a nap and listen to rain sounds on Spotify to calm down. I definitely acknowledge that it's a good game and I see the appeal, but it's not for me and it probably never will be. However, there's a game that has a very similar gameplay loop to Tarkov and has many of the same concepts and ideas. But it has a few major differences, and these differences are actually what make it enjoyable for me and thousands of other players. The game I'm talking about is Hunt Showdown, and it's a title that I've been playing a lot lately. Hunt Showdown is the perfect balance of action, stealth, strategy, and intensity, and it builds off of the strong points of Tarkov without falling prey to some of its flaws. It's one of the most fun PvP games I've ever played, and it's one of the few multiplayer games where I can play for hours on end without getting pissed off every time I die and lose my stuff. In this game, you're a bounty hunter in the year 1895, and you're tasked with finding and killing various monsters that are hiding around the world. But it's not that simple because these monsters are also being hunted by 10 other players. You spawn into the world with your hunter, your teammates, your weapons, and your balls of steel, and you have to find 3 clues that reveal the monster's location, kill that monster, claim the bounty, and extract without being killed by competing hunters. So you have to worry not only about killing a giant spider with human limbs and supersonic speed with your 1800s musket, but also the other players who are out to kill you and take your bounty for themselves. This game will keep you on the edge of your seat at all times, and you will constantly be saying, "Bro, just one more run," to all of your friends who have a real job and can't stay up all night killing bosses and clapping enemies' cheeks. But the core gameplay loop isn't really the appeal in this game. Sure, it's a nice twist to a formula that's starting to become extremely overdone, but it isn't what makes this game as awesome as it is. So let's dive in a bit further and digest what it is about Hunt Showdown that stands out and what makes it worth your money. So in this game, you don't only have one character per se, but you actually have access to loads of different randomly generated hunters that you can recruit into your roster. Each of these characters come with their own unique weapons, consumables, looks, and starting perks, and you can reshuffle your catalog to see what's available for you on the market after every single run. They all have their own unique loadouts, and if you don't like what they have or you want to run a specific loadout, you could go into the store to buy new weapons and items to ensure that your hunter fits your ideal playstyle. I tend to enjoy long-range snipers, but not the ones with the scopes because you can literally see other players' souls with this fucking thing, and it zooms in and out way too much for my liking, but what you decide to run is really up to you and your ideal playstyle. Shotguns are insane in close-range encounters, and crossbows are good if you prefer to stay stealthy in your interactions. But again, it's entirely up to you. As you get better with your selected characters and complete runs, you gain points that you use to upgrade them with unlockable perks that can make you quieter, make you recover from damage faster, or countless other buffs that can change up your strategy. You buy these characters and their weapons and gear with hunt dollars, which is the currency that you gain from completing missions and successfully extracting.
Oh, help! 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 Help!
There isn't really a looting mechanic like there is in Tarkov, and your money isn't based on what you buy and sell. It's based on how successful you are in your mission and if you manage to kill the bosses or not, which really does change everything. One of the things that bothers me so much about Tarkov is that you don't really have an objective or goal. You sort of spawn in, wander around, kill some people, and then leave whenever you feel like you've gotten enough loot to make some money. Then you gotta decide what's worth selling and what's worth keeping, and you have to be strategic with the money that you just spent 30 minutes earning. But in Hunt Showdown, you have a set goal and objective, and you know exactly what you're aiming to accomplish with every run. And because of this, it makes the game much more exciting and immersive, and it keeps you engaged for hours on end without feeling drained. Being mentally drained from a video game is probably the worst feeling on the planet, besides having to deal with a draining video editing software. Which is exactly why I'm excited for the sponsor of today's video, Wondershare Filmora, which is actually what I use to edit this video. This editing software is perfect both for beginners with zero editing skills and experienced editors alike, and it has some really solid features. My favorite feature is the adjustment layer, which allows you to apply the same effect to multiple clips on your timeline. This is super convenient and efficient if you want to stylize your content without going through an extremely tedious process, and I use this a lot for this video. They also have a super useful AI audio stretch feature that makes music fade in and out smoothly and matches it to the duration of your video to save you a lot of time while editing. And there's also an extremely impressive AI cutout tool that makes it absurdly easy to cut people and objects out of your footage without the extremely complicated masking process that's needed in other software. In short, Wondershare Filmora 12 is an amazing video editing software, and if you want to get into YouTube, it is a great way to do so. So if you're interested, download it today by using my link in the description. Now back to the review. Every single run is randomized, with 1 or 2 bosses being thrown onto one of 3 maps at a random time of day, and you gotta make do with your circumstances to kill these bosses and complete your mission. But honestly, who gives a shit about the bosses? There's 4 of them and they're all pretty damn easy to kill. All they really are is a hot zone to find other players and absolutely murder them. Once you kill a boss, every player on the map is then notified about your location, and the bounties are fair game for anybody who could make it out alive with them. So you can go through all the effort of dealing with this piece of shit's barbed wire traps just for 2 idiots to swoop in and steal your bounties without you even noticing.
God damn it, bro, I choked that.
This PvP is where the real beauty of this game lies. The bounties really just act as a gathering point for all of the hunters on the map, and it's a green light for the fun to begin. The maps do a really good job at introducing verticality to them, with random towers and outposts and mountains acting as great vantage points for PvP battles. It's more about the angles and the strategies than about the weapons that you have, and it makes the skill gap more about using your wits than about acquiring the best gear. Once you kill a target, you have to wait for about 5 minutes for the bounties to be claimable. During this time, everyone on the map is alerted, and you have to defend your trophy while you wait for this process to finish. This is when the real action begins, and it's where tons of intense Western PvP battles will take place. I usually queue up with my friend Austin, and there have been so many times where, while we were defending our bounties, intense games of cat and mouse take place between us and enemy teams. Since your position is what really matters, there will be a lot of moving around going on in these battles, where each team constantly tries to get a sneaky angle on the other. Guns don't matter as much as where you're located, so there are tons of different strategies that could work to help you come out on top. For example, Austin seems to go for close combat situations where he's the faster shot in a head-to-head shootout, while I try to sneak around the outskirts of an engagement and get a sneaky shot off on the enemies. Both of these strategies work, as well as others, like rushing in with a shotgun, going sneaky with a crossbow, or throwing consumables and explosives to try to scare someone out of hiding, but ultimately killing yourself in the process. PvP isn't only about skill, but it's also about wits and strategy, which makes me not feel defeated when I get killed by an enemy team. I'm the type of guy where I get pissed and I gotta take a break from games when I find someone who's constantly better than me. For example, if I constantly lose over and over again in Apex, there's a 99% chance I'm gonna get off for the night. It's actually why I stopped playing Apex, Fortnite, and many other competitive games. Maybe I'm a sore loser, but there are way too many sweats. And while there definitely are sweats in Hunt Showdown, don't get me wrong, I don't get as irritated when they beat me in a fight because instead of blaming the game, I blame myself. These high-level players still have gear that is about relatively as good as my low-level gear, and most of the time they only win battles because they had the smarter strategy. This keeps me replaying the game over and over, and it makes me have hope that maybe next time it'll be a little bit better. Speaking of gear, there are over 75 weapons ranging from snipers that can see each individual cell of your enemy's body, shotguns that hit everything in a 10-mile radius, pistols that make you feel like Clint Eastwood, and suppressed rifles that remind you of that toy BB gun you gave your little brother for Christmas. These weapons are matched up with a dozen or so consumables that you can use in your interactions to either scare your enemies shitless or to accidentally blow yourself up, because once again, you got overly confident. I prefer the long-range rifles and standard revolvers because they're more of my playstyle, but what you use can change drastically based on what you want. You unlock all of these weapons as you level up, and you can buy them from the store using hunt dollars and craft your loadout to make it what you want it to be. But nothing in your loadout will be as helpful as Darksight. Darksight is your sort of bounty hunter's sixth sense, and it's what you use to find the clues that will lead you to the boss that you have to kill. But once you grab the bounties at the end of your boss fight and inevitable PvP battle, you get 5 seconds of boosted Darksight. This 5-second advantage is more valuable than gold itself because it actually shows you the general location of other players while you're using it. So you can either use it to find the best way to escape, or spare it and try to strategically pick off enemies one by one to get extra money and XP, and maybe even steal other players' bounties. My favorite runs in this game are the ones where we use our Darksight boost to go and engage enemies and steal their bounties, escaping both with theirs and with ours. That shit is super intense, and every single time it reminds me of how much I love this game. It creates an interesting dynamic because we know where the enemies are, and the enemies know where we are as long as both teams have their dark sight. So you either have to hope that the other team uses all of theirs up before you do, or you have to try to get the jump on them before they hit you with the bullet in the head. But you don't only have to worry about other players, because unlike Tarkov, there is a big PvE dynamic as well. While you go on fighting bosses and hopefully killing other enemies, there are also zombies, weird octopus creatures, rabid dogs, and all sorts of other enemies that will catch you slacking and f*** you up. The octopus things in particular are insanely annoying, and just know that if you're standing in waist-deep water, you have a lot more to worry about than other players.
Oh! Oh, there's a fucking...
Oh, run! Oh my god.
No!
The PvP elements are pretty easy when dealing with them alone, but when you're in PvP battles and have a billion zombies and dogs and enemies running at you for no reason whatsoever, that risk gets a little bit higher. Hunt Showdown is extremely unforgiving, but it has created some of the most fun memories that I've had in gaming in a long time. If you've played this game, I'm sure you've had some funny or interesting experiences too, so if you have, please drop a comment below letting me know about them. The PvP and the PvE are outstanding, but Hunt is even better because of how immersive it is. Immersive games are always the ones that keep me coming back for more, and let me tell you, this game is taking up way more of my time than it should. Your HUD is very minimal and the game is super realistic, which when combined already sets you up for an immersive experience. When you're using a revolver, the reloading animation shows you putting every single bullet into the cylinder, and single-fire weapons require you to manually put in another bullet after every single shot. The weapons are extremely realistic, and they have different weights to them that match what you would expect them to feel like. When you use this beast of a shotgun, you can feel the kick that it has, and when your crossbow handles like a legitimate crossbow, it's kind of amazing. Plus, with the sounds in this game, it's almost harder for you not to be immersed into it. I will confidently say right now that Hunt Showdown has the best sound design I've ever heard in a game of this size. Everything from the wood creaking under your boots to the gunshots and even the doors opening sounds extremely realistic. Depth perception in the sound is amazing, and you can actually tell where somebody is if you listen hard enough. There are differences in what it sounds like when someone's above you or below you, and if you have a good headset, it can genuinely feel like your life is at stake in a PvP situation. Plus, there's broken glass and chains and birds that can be scared and barking dogs and all sorts of other stuff that you have to be cautious about while playing because they can easily give away your location. There's pianos that you can interact with and gramophones that you can signal to play noise to cover up the sound of your walking. All of these intense sounds add another layer to the immersion in this game, and it makes it all the more exciting with each and every run. And it's also fun scaring Austin every single time I turn on a gramophone, even though we've played this game for like 20 hours now. All of this stuff is the fundamental core of what Hunt Showdown is about, but there's more to this game, as you can tell by the ridiculously confusing menus that I absolutely hate. Not gonna lie, the menus in this game are confusing as hell, and even with 20 hours of gameplay, I still don't know where half the stuff is. There are two other game modes, one of which is Battle Royale. I've seen gameplay of the Battle Royale, but I'm too scared to play this game by myself, and since you can't queue up with other people in this mode, I haven't given it much thought. There's also a Trials mode that has things like parkour and sniper challenges, and while it's pretty cool I guess, I don't really see the point of it. The characters that you unlock with money are nice, but there's also quite a few DLC characters that are really badass if you want to spend some extra money. I already feel cool as hell when I play this game with normal characters, so if I wanted to feel even cooler, there are definitely lots of DLC options out there. I'm not going to go into depth about every single small thing about this game, and at this point I think you can get the gist. Hunt Showdown is genuinely my favorite multiplayer first-person shooter on the market right now, and if you need to gain some extra anxiety in your life, it could be a good game for you too. So if you end up buying it, let me know what your experience is like in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe if you did, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.